Hi, my name is Adil Khan, and I want to discuss some of my personal journey. So I will start when I came to America and why I came. So I came to US in end of 1971. But before I go on details, what happened when I came, I like to go back. What motivated me to come to US? So when I was in seventh grade, my brother-in-law, late Mr. Abdul Sattar, he used to work for Ford Foundation, a U.S.-based, you know, charity organization. So in the summertime, he took me to his office, and this was the first time I was exposed to like an Western type office, and I was really impressed. Very neat, clean, with a file cabinet, which I have not seen, in other Pakistani offices. Usually they have like shelves with a lot of old paper files. Here they have nice filing system. There were no computers, but he has a nice typewriter, water cooler, air condition. And then we went to his boss's room, who was, I still remember his name, Mr. Dyke. Mr. Dyke used to be, I think he was the dean of Oklahoma State University at Norman that time, but he was on a assignment here. So he talked to me, and spoke in broken English. So after that, uh, there was a U.S. consulate library in Karachi, where I became a member in eighth grade, and you can check all kind of books. So what I did, I start checking books and magazines and start reading, like American books, and I was really, my longing to go to US start increasing. Uh, then after high school, a couple of my friends, they got admission and they went to US, but it was expensive because you need several, $1,000 to go, even buy a ticket and all that. And being from a middle class family, it was very expensive for me to. So at the same time, I got admission into NED Engineering College. So my father said, "Why don't you finish your engineering? You can go for masters." So I did that. The once I became an engineer, I got a job and I start looking. And then I used to go to consulate and I used to read catalogs of different universities. And then I applied. So finally, I got admission. And then what happened when I got admission, I went to the US consulate to get a visa. In those days, there was no security. You can just walk in, basically. Hardly anybody was there. So there was a local Pakistani uh, guy who used to, take care of your paperwork. So he said, "Hey, by the way, there's something new. It's called immigration. Why don't you go apply for that instead of going as a student?" I said, "What is that? I have no idea." He said, "Don't worry, I will do all the paperwork for you." So he said, "Come after a few days and bring your copy of your degree, a transcript, and a picture, a photograph." So I did that. He did all the paperwork. He took my fingerprints. And then I told a couple of my friends, and they all went and they all applied. And by the way, they're all here, either in US or Canada. So I continued to work after a year and a half. Finally, I got a letter that, hey, by the way, your immigration is approved and please come and do other paperwork. So I went there, and then I persuaded one of my friend, late Mr. Taslim. By the way, Taslim's son is one of a big cleric in Houston area.
Todd the Slim, I saw him a couple of weeks ago. He was here
Yeah,
in Houston, yeah.
Fahad Taslim.
And his brother Saad as well, yeah.
Yeah. So I and Taslim decided to come together. So we went there. So at the same time, Taslim has some relatives in London, and he wrote to them, and they said, why don't you stop here a few days, spend some time, and we will show you UK. So we bought a ticket like that we flew by Air France to Paris, from Paris to London, few days, from London to Paris for 1 day, overnight, and then to New York. So anyway, we had a very good time in London. And then once the planes start coming to US, and we had no place to go. I had a phone number of a friend, and I have an address, not an address, name of one of my uncles, distant uncles, Dr. Shahidi, but I have no idea where he lives. So we landed at JFK, and then in those days there were payphones, and basically you need 10 cents. So we didn't have 10 cents. We only brought, each of us has $200. That's it. So finally we called our friend in Queens, and he was nice enough. He said, oh, just wait, we'll come. It was Sunday, I think, pick you up. So he came with another friend. His name is Munawar. By the way, Munawar lives in New Jersey. He's a neighbor of Rahela, by the way. So he came. So we went to Flushing, and we were in an apartment where my friend brother, who was married with 2 kids, 1-bedroom apartment, was there with 4 other guys. They were all young guys, So they put 6 mattresses in the living room, and we slept. So next morning we got up, and one guy said, I'll show you how to get the train, the subway. So we took the subway, came to Manhattan, and then started walking around looking, what if you can get a job. In those days, there was a recession somehow, and very hard to get a job. And there were a bunch of Pakistani Indians same time coming in. So any days, after 5 days, we found another friend. He was in Connecticut, in New Haven. He said, why don't you come there? So we went there, and there was another friend of us, our classmates. He was there. So we were running out of $200. The $200 were down to like 120. We need to make some money. So we found a job in a factory. They used to make these cables, electrical cables. I think the name was Zero Wire Cable or something. So we started working. Somehow during that time we met somebody, and he gave me the number of our uncle, Dr. Shahidi. So I called him, and he said, why don't you come to New Jersey and see, what we can do. So after a few weeks of the work was very tough, and I was not used to it. So I took a bus and came to New Brunswick, and then went to his house. He was nice enough. And then he used to work in New York, and then I used to go with him in his car to New York and start looking. Finally, I found a job at as a mailroom clerk at St. Peter Hospital in New Jersey, where, by the way, my son Asim is working as a doctor, same hospital.
Coincidence.
That's a coincidence. And then I found a room for like $10 a week. So I stayed in that room, and then after a couple of months, I found another job. Again, not engineering job. It was a law firm in New York on Wall Street. That used to be the biggest law firm in America at that time. I mean, they have almost all the Dow Jones guys, top guys in there, are there as their clients. Anyway, so looking around, finally I got a job as a quality control inspector. Then I moved on to get a job uh, with a contractor in Virginia. So then I joined Corps of Engineers, and that Corps of Engineers allowed me to go to Greenland, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, where finally I retired. But let me tell you the life for the immigrants in the 70s. When I came here, there was only one masjid in Manhattan on 96th Street. There was no masjid, there was no Juma. The first Eid was at Sheraton in New York City, in Manhattan. And I think there only one Jamaat, maybe 8,000 people were there from all the 5 boroughs of New York, New Jersey, Long Island, and some part of even Connecticut. And even the Shias, the Sunnis, and uh, even the Ahmadis, they were all there. So there was no grocery store, Indian grocery store. There was just one grocery store in Manhattan. It was actually an American grocery store, but he used to carry a lot of Indian spices. So there was no halal meat shop throughout. Uh, so we lived
And this
like,
was the 70s in New York.
yes, from 70 to, I would say, 74, 75.
Hmm.
Some people start organizing Juma at their offices or homes, whatever. Then finally,
When you first came to America,
yeah,
was it easy or difficult to maintain your religious identity?
it was difficult. I mean, like as far as your prayers, but most of the people, they stick together with their own group. There were some people who went astray, like they start hanging with the wrong crowd. So those,
Whitewash.
yeah, like they start drinking and this and that, or partying. So that crowd, but especially people who went to like small towns where
Hmm.
hardly anybody was there. But luckily, the tri-state area has a lot of, and there were some people before us who came to do PhDs and all that. So they had families. So, like my uncle has a family, and a couple of his friends, they were all families, with kids. So I remember one day, one guy knocked at our door in New York, and he said, "I'm collecting funds to build a masjid or start a masjid in Queens, Elmas." So, at that time I could only afford $5, so I gave him. So other people gave. Finally, what happened is he turned his house into a masjid.
Hmm.
Then later, now it's a big masjid in Almast.
Hmm.
And then another uh, somebody I knew who died, I think 2 years ago, Mr. Sherwani, he started a masjid in Flushing,
Hmm.
Queens. And then in New Jersey, Route 1, Princeton, a lot of people get together and they started. So the people realized, especially those who were married and the kids were growing up, that they had to do something. There's because they were afraid, because the immigrants who came in the 50s and 60s, they had a hard time. Some of their kids becomes, like very non-religious and this and that because there was nothing there. So lot of people, they start these Sunday schools, and some of them started at their homes or some, you know, restaurants, or some finally in a masjid, and people who were not even had not much background in a religion self-taught themselves. And finally, for example, my daughter Alia and Asim, they went to a Sunday school in Palmyra. The person who started, motivated, and he was a teacher. His name is still alive around, Miftah Saab. He's, I mean, he used to be very, like into music, playing, but he just changed completely. He went to the, religious side. And so those were the days. Then more and more people start coming in. Then people like me and other people, or older people than me, they got married. Then a lot of people, they became citizens, and they took advantage of the program where you can file for immigration for your sisters and brothers. So that's why most of the people you see in America, they came like that. So at that time, Nasser Uncle already came as a student. So I sponsored him. Then Rana Auntie, she came as an immigrant. Then uh, then like I used in Newark, there's a Federal Plaza. So I had to go there to file the petition for my other sisters. But their case was a little bit more paperwork, because they needed their marriage certificate and their birth certificates, and any which we don't have, you know. So I remember I went to the Federal Plaza in Newark, and you have to go early in the, first come first serve. So I have to go I have to be in the line like 6 o'clock, so I can be seen at 8. And then after 2 weeks, got a letter that we need the marriage certificate. So we didn't have marriage certificate. So what happened then? I went. I found out that Pakistan consulate can issue a marriage certificate. So I got an affidavit from Karachi, that they were married this date, and even the birth certificate that Abda Begum was born on this and Khalda Begum, and I had to take that to Pakistan consulate, and I knew somebody there actually. So what happened? They will issue like a on their letterhead, based on the evidence. We said she was born on this date and her marriage was on this date. Finally, they accepted all this, and so same with my other friends. They brought their families, so the population started growing, and that started the first meat halal meat store in Queens started. Then more and more, then restaurant. The first Pakistani restaurant was Shaheen in New York. And I remember the owner, they used to make a jalebi and samosa. It started with a small cabin. Then they made a restaurant. Then more restaurant came in. Then then another problem started. So the word started spreading in Pakistan, India. Hey. So now the problem is everybody cannot get immigration. So people find the other way, alternate way. One way was to come through Mexico, you know, or the other way was what people used to do. They used to take a flight and then come to New York somehow, and declare themselves as a political asylum, and then go to like Coney Island and things like that. But that was not limited to even the whole everybody from everywhere in the world was some of them came like that. So
Yeah,
that,
I think it's very interesting that
yeah.
you came to America because it's like the butterfly effect, you know.
Mm,
One small thing a person does now can
yeah,
have a huge effect later on. And
true.
right now, this is the evidence of that.
Yeah,
If you, for example, I always think about this, if you decided to move to the UK
yeah,
or to Canada or
right,
Australia,
right.
you would have changed the entire destiny
Of
of all
all,
your family members,
true, true.
which is fascinating to me, you know?
And the problem with the US, UK, and Canada is that in UK it's very hard to bring your siblings. Some you can bring, some you cannot. It's not like automatic. Same with Canada. But US was very liberal, I would say that.
Mhm. With
So
all the years that you've spent in the US,
mm,
what era has been your most favorite one?
I would say 80s because I was married, I had young kids, I had a very good job, I was able to travel, and I had bought my first house. And then my other sisters and brothers, they were here. So that was really very, because in the 70s I was struggling, with the, because I went for MS, I was struggling with jobs and education. But 80s I was relaxed.
Were you ever embarrassed of struggling or you were always
No, no,
confident?
I was never embarrassed. The one thing I, even if I was penniless or I had no job, I didn't care. I tawakkalullah, and I said, I'll get it. So no, I was not embarrassed. I was always hopeful. Let's say.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that's impressive because it's not everybody has the ability to have that in themselves.
no, I had no. In fact, I used to motivate my other friends. They were down and this and that. I said,
Hmm.
like, as long as you're, my motto was, as long as you are healthy, you can do anything. So uh, some of them, I know one or two of them, they were so depressed. They went back. They could not take, the struggle or whatever you call it. But the
Did
good
you
thing,
ever consider quitting or no?
who?
Did you ever consider quitting?
No, I never considered quitting. Even let me tell you the jobs. Some people get like, let's say, jobs on a platter. My somehow my jobs were always challenging. My first job, real engineering job, was in Virginia. So I went there, and then the job required to do surveying. I had done some in Pakistan, so I wind up there, and I said, "What I'm going to do?" So what happened? I brought the machine on the weekend at home, and the whole weekend I practiced on that machine. Where you can measure the length and the angles, and then somehow I was able to fit in. So that was very challenging for me. The second challenging was when I got a job in Kuwait. So I went to Kuwait. At that time, the fires were still burning from the invasion, and half the city was dark. So there were like about 150 Americans were there. So most of them were in the field. Field job was easy, you go there in a car, you drive around, So the I was told we had a shortage of people who can do like what we call it, modification. Because the whole country you need extra work, so that we have to put. And I had no experience, so they said, well, that's the only thing we have. So I wind up in that office, and I have to do what you call OJT, on the job training, learn myself, and finally I was able to hang around and do it. So that was very challenging. Then when I went to Saudi Arabia again, at that time there were two issues. At that time, Asim was in, I think Alia was like in 10th grade, and Asim was in fourth grade. So to leave them, you know, and then when I arrived there again, all new people, and I have to deal with Saudis, with Americans, with all this, and again, new environment, challenging. It took me several months to adjust. And actually, when you go there, you're not supposed to stay more than 5 years. But somehow I stayed like 22 years. So I mean, that was a blessing. So that's one thing. So, but personally, no, I was always, I like challenging, when I took my first job with the Corps of Engineers, my boss told me three things which when I became a boss, I told my subordinates. He said three things. He said, I'm not a clock watcher. So office for 8 to 4:30. If you're 10 minutes late, doesn't matter. If you need to leave early, I'm not looking for a pencil pusher. I'm looking for someone to do the work. And I know who's doing and who's not, who's pretending. So, and he said, second thing, no politics in the office. If you have any issue, resolve with the guy yourself. I want you to come happy. Third thing he said, I cannot change your spouse, but because have the life you spend at home, have the life you spend at the office. But we'll make sure that you enjoy when you come to work, not depressed. Fourth thing, I need healthy employees. So lunchtime, everybody gets out and do physical activity. So either play games or walk. So I learned tennis. He used to play tennis. And so I learned tennis from him. So I used to play tennis in the lunchtime. So when I went to Saudi Arabia, I said the same thing too. When I became a boss, I said, listen, man, I know who's doing and who's pretending to be. I don't like people to be look busy.
Yeah.
I want the product. So I think that's missing. I noticed some people, they think that, or they can be too bossy, or they can be very, the boss has to be really shrewd or rude. No, not really.
Something I've noticed lately, especially,
Mm.
is the truth of the statement. It's not what you know, it's who
Mm.
you know.
Yeah,
I constantly see people who are incompetent in roles that surpass their ability.
it's
With
true.
all of your work experience, has that been the truth as well?
Yes, but what I'm saying that when I work when I let me tell you. So when I went there, I was the only, let's say, non-white uh, person to be in that group. We have like 23, 24 Americans. We had a joint Saudi American team. So when I went there, and at the same time, Saudis have hired a local company with a bunch of local engineers who came from India, Pakistan, Philippines, Jordan, Syria, Egypt. So when they saw me, one Saudi told my boss, how come you didn't find like a white or black American? And he said, well, we don't discriminate, whoever qualified, we hire him. So my boss told me that I don't care, but you have to work hard to win their hearts. So I said, okay. So I went out of way, like I tried to. Finally, they kind of accepted me. And but even that's true. I have noticed that some people who were incompetent, but they were good in, let's say, bootlicking or whatever you call it, or Moscow polish, and they got their roles where they were not supposed to be.
Mm,
And I think it's everywhere, even
yeah.
in politics, uh, even in uh, even in army. I've seen it. Like some generals were very competent, some were not that. And,
Yeah.
that's true. And that's, I think you cannot change it.
Would you also say the statement, your network is your net worth, is true in your experience?
When you say network is same as net worth,
Yeah. Have you heard of that statement before?
no, no, not really. Can you explain?
Yeah, the people that you know, the network that you have,
Oh, the network, I see.
yeah, it's
Oh,
equal to your net worth. Has that also been true?
true, it's true. Because the thing is, I noticed like when I was when I was in Saudi Arabia, I knew so many people, right? And I could have got jobs through them because now they know me, and that's true. Like you have to have some kind of network. It's very hard to break in if you don't have no network.
Yeah. And you know, this is one thing about you in particular that I find fascinating. You have a lot of connections and you've maintained those connections.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people over time, they kind of fade away from other people's lives. They kind of become
yeah,
distant from others. But it's
yeah.
important to maintain those, huh?
I do that. In fact, yesterday, like we have translators within our office. Most of them were like Jordanian Palestinians. So we have one guy actually, he used to work with us for like almost 20 years. He called me yesterday. He talked to me for half an hour. He told me all about the other, we used to call them ITs, translators, that what happened to him and this and that. And even I kept in touch with some other colleagues. And if I wanted to see what happened, I don't want to go again overseas. If I wanted to, I had no issues, like I can pick up the phone and make few phone calls.
There's power in that. It's powerful to be
Yeah,
able to do
it
that.
is power. But the thing is, that power can carry you so much. I mean, you have to know, like people who recommend you. Sometimes I have seen people who on the network can get jobs, or can get assignment, but some of them were disappointed, on recommending them.
You have to prove with your
You
work
get
ethic.
proof. You get a proof. Yeah.
Yeah.
And always another thing I noticed, my boss told me first time, he said, take assignment which you don't like or nobody wants, because everybody wants a little bit easier assignment. So I went to that. For example, when I was working in with him, I'm a civil engineer, and there was a lot of electrical work. So he said, take this work. So I took it, and I had to read electrical code books and this and that, and it was difficult. Same when I started the, like we call it modification and claims. So, like for example, let's say I give you a 10-story building to build, right? And then I said, hey, I want to add two more floors. So of course, the 10-story building cost for 10 million. So now you're going to want extra money. So now you're going to submit me a cost proposal. Let's say you want 3 million or 4 million or 1.5 million. And then I have to make my own estimate and we negotiate. As a contractor, you want more. And as a client or government personnel, I want to save money, right? So it's always a struggle. And or sometimes what happen, let's say I give you a contract to make a building and you start excavating and you run into old, let's say underground fuel tanks. So now you come, hey, I need extra money, of course. So I start somehow uh, specializing in that. It was tedious work because you have to do a lot of research. And I did like a lot of claim settlement in Saudi Arabia and even in Kuwait. So that and then I used to sit down with these contractor, big time contractors. Some of them were like billionaires. They're, I mean, the owner will not come, but he will send his rep And these were shrewd guys. I mean, they had done this, and they will come. But my experience, taught me that I can tell you in a few minutes if this person is lying or not, just by his action. I can tell his face, I know you want this cost, but this is not the realistic cost. So once you meet like hundreds of people like this, and I met, I was dealing with Americans, even with the Saudis, Jordanians, even French, Britishers, a lot of other Egyptian contractors, they were even American contractors. They are all same. They're looking for, they're all greedy, let's say. So they always inflate the price. And then hopefully, if the cost of a certain work, let's say, is $100,000, they will come with a proposal of like $160,000. And hopefully, they might say, you might settle for 140 or 150. But
Business, huh?
yeah, it's business. And that's
Yeah.
so our job was to, you know, give them a, don't, always be fair, because we know that this guy has to make a profit. He is a business. So we don't want him to lose the money, because I know some people who were like me, they were always looking to squeeze him to the last drop. And I told them, you cannot do that. This guy is a businessman. And plus, he has some other unknown expenses. Because when you start, touching any old building, you run into other things. So,
Yeah. I
but
wanted to go back to the conversation about the connections
mm,
because you've had so many connections.
mm,
Have you ever had any experiences where someone betrayed you?
uh, not really. I would not say that betrayed
And I'm
me.
I'm asking in the context of, friends come and go.
Yeah,
They come and go in
yeah,
that regard.
true. I don't recall that,
Mhm.
because first of all, I didn't, look for that many. And somehow, for example, the first time I applied for Saudi Arabia, I was told by the person who hired me that there was another person in the same office who was reluctant to hire me, although he knew me. But he said for some reasons he didn't want. So, but I never. Finally, we
Do you,
became
do you
friends.
think that had anything to do with jealousy, maybe?
No, not jealousy. I think because he was from same ethnic background. Let's say straight. He
Yeah.
he don't want another person from the same ethnic background to come to the office.
Why do you think that's a pattern in Pakistani culture?
But for me, it was never issue. I hired myself,
Oh.
Pakistani American guy who is still who proved to be very good. Actually, even the Saudis used to praise him. So for me, I would hire the best. I don't care if it's Pakistani Indian, but I know a lot of Pakistanis. They're reluctant if they are boss. They think that somebody may accuse them of being uh, helping their own.
Mm.
But for me, if I have to do it, I'll do it openly. Like it was open interview, and the guy, because by the way, talking about interviews, because in Saudi Arabia in 22 years, we had so many uh, engineers and inspectors come and go, maybe hundreds of them, because every year we have to hire 7 or 8, because 7 or 8 are leaving. So I remember I used to be in the I used to conduct interview, not by myself. I had like a panel, and I conducted probably maybe 200 interviews. So I naturally, when you do that, I can say after 5 minutes that I'm going to hire this guy or not, just based on his uh, what he's telling me. Either he's telling me because some guys used to inflate their CVs, But when you ask them, they would not, they won't have the correct answer, or they would have what I call them, like they were like a parrot. Somebody coached them, and they will start reading. Like, if I ask them, "What do you think of quality control?" Looks like the guy is reading from a book, and I can tell because we were not allowed like video interview,
Mm.
audio, but I can tell him he's reading.
Mm.
So we had so that's another problem. A lot of people, they hire people based on their CVs, which are not right. and
Yeah.
and the guy. But the good thing about us in Saudi Arabia, that anybody we'll hire was on a 1 year contract.
Mm.
So if we didn't like him, we can just send him back
Mm.
and hire him again. So it was not like we were stuck with him.
I wanted to shift the gears of the conversation a little bit.
Mm.
When you came to Houston about a month ago, you
Yeah,
were telling me the history of your family lineage.
yeah. You want it?
I want it.
Okay.
What is it?
Actually, I can go from your mother's side because because I don't
Your
know much
your
about.
your mother's side.
Yeah, my mother and my father.
Yeah.
So my mother name was Sharifunnisa Begum, and my father was Muhammad Sabir Khan. They were all from a city in India called Nagpur,
City
which
of
is
Snakes.
city of snakes, and it's in the middle of India. So they were born there, they grew up there, and when they were married, my father has a law degree from. At that time, there was only one Muslim run university in India. It's called Aligarh. It's still there, AMU they call it. So he had a law degree from that, and he went to practice law for one year. He gave up. I think he said, "I cannot lie too much." That was his answer.
Hmm.
So finally, he switched to become an accountant. And my mother, father was a government officer, in charge of a lot of lands, and he used to be transferred from one rural area to another rural area. So my mother, her childhood spent like 2 years in one small town, 2 years next small town, and they were pretty affluent. And so my mother was 13 years old. She went to fourth grade, and then in those days they used to get married, early, between 30, 15, 16, 17. That's it. So my grandfather, his name was Abdul Aziz Khan, and his wife, my grandmother Nani, was Mariam. So my grandfather was from a place in near Nagpur. Is called Ramtek. This is where there is a temple, 5,000-year-old temple. I went there. Belonged to the god Ram.
Hmm.
And my Nani, she was from a place in India. It's called Jabalpur, which is still there. So anyway, they got married. They have several. They have basically a couple of kids died, but six survived. So my mother was number three. She has older sister, older brother, and her then younger sister, and two younger brother. So all are dead now. She was the last one to survive.
And she was 100 when she passed away.
One.
101.
Yeah,
Wow. Impressive.
yeah, she was. And her nickname was, they used to call her Putli Begum. Putli means in Hindi skinny. She was very skinny, so they call her the skinny lady. So when they were married, my father was 27, she was 13, and they were married in a place called Multai in India. In fact, I went to that town myself where they were married during my one of my trips to India. So then they have, of course, six kids. Two sisters. Then I came. Then my brother. Then Rana, and then Babar uncle. So my father became an accountant, and my mother, of course, was a housewife. And then the partition came. The Pakistan India. So my father decided to take an assignment in East Pakistan, which is called Bangladesh. And but after 1.5 years, he didn't like the culture or the atmosphere, so he transferred himself to Karachi. So where we were, he stayed, and we all were raised there. And my father, or my grandfather name was Usman Khan. He was also an accountant, but I heard he was a scholar also, Islamic scholar. And every, I think Friday or Sunday, he has a big gathering at his house. And what I heard, he was very whitish color with blue eyes.
He was British.
Yeah, he was like a Turkish or something.
Hmm.
And then his father was Abdul Jabbar Khan, and I cannot name after that. So my father finally they came to Karachi. They stayed in some rental place. Finally, they bought a house in Karachi, which is called PIB Colony, where we all grew up and got all married, except Rana and Babar auntie. They were married different, you know. And then my father was also a poet, also in Urdu
I
and
didn't know that.
Persian also. He was
Do
a great.
you know any of his poetry? Any lines from his poetry?
No, we have a book. Have you seen that book,
I've
Rana?
never seen it. This is the first time
No,
I'm
yeah.
hearing about it.
No, no. We have a lot of copies.
Oh
It's
no, my bad. Yes, I have a copy myself. I don't know what
yeah,
I'm saying. I have a copy
yeah,
myself. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So you can read that if you can read it. So yeah, I was not into much poetry myself. I was more into like writing. So I was not much into like poetry or ghazal. But yeah, I have read some of his poems. So in India, they used to have a monthly gathering at different houses. But when he came to Karachi, he became like not much involved in those kind of activities because too much, financial burden and other challenges were there. But funny thing, my father, there's another aspect which a lot of people don't know, has five uncles from his mother's side. His mother came from Bhopal, which is a big city in India, and the story. There's a fascinating story about my grandmother that actually they came from Tamil Nadu or called Madras or Chennai. But at that time their parents came and they settled in Bhopal, and my father's Nana was a lawyer. So, but when I think he has five sons and one daughter. My dadi was the eldest one. Somehow they were all, from 5 year old to teens, he died. So now suddenly they were in a new town. They didn't know many people there. And, my dadi's mother was left, widow with all these kids. So, but they have they have a law clerk with them, who used to help the grandfather. He maintained the law practice. He hired a lawyer, and he financially, from that income, he supported that family. So all those five uncles became very, very highly educated. One became like a high court judge. One became a big businessman. One became like what do you call, like in charge of a city, almost like a commissioner, and those kind of very successful people. And some of their kids are in UK and Middle East and somewhere. So that guy really went out of way to support them. That's what I wrote in my other book, about this guy.
You've written a book.
No, I have not written. I have written, like, let's say, short paragraphs, and I send it to Alia to make it more
That
truth.
sounds fascinating.
Yeah, but I wrote a lot of stories about our upbringing in Karachi. In PI, we grew up in a neighborhood called PIB Colony, which is still there. It's called Pir Bush Colony, where we were living in a two-bedroom house with about 5 kids at one time. And then in those days, we have, electricity came later. No fridge, no car, no phone, no AC, just some ceiling fans.
Yeah.
No, and we used to go, even in weddings, we used to go, we could not afford taxis, so we used to go in a public bus. I remember that. Because my father actually has a good job, but the problem in Pakistan, a lot of these government jobs, the salary was low. And a lot of people from their kickbacks, they used to supplement their income, like we call bribing. And he didn't take it. So he was always struggling, like with his limited salary.
I believe it was you that told me this. Your father, you realized, was
Very honest.
more quiet, more alone, more
Yeah, he was
isolated.
quiet.
And it's interesting because the contrast to you, how
Yeah. We know
you're
because
very social.
my mother was always lively, very talkative.
Mhm.
So we went to her side. My mother was always talking, talking to the kids. I don't know how much she talked to the husband that much, but she was talking to us, to her daughters, to the neighbors. And I got into that habit. Plus, when I grew up, I always liked to play with friends. I was always in sports. So I remember the first time, at the age of 5, 6, I started playing games, whatever game I can play. Then I started like track and field. I used to run until I was in college, like 100 meter, 200, 500 meters, 1,000 meters.
Wow.
Then I was high jump, long jump, this. So I was very athletic. So I was always, plus I always like politics. I used to read newspapers, read magazines, and always a very lot of friends in the neighborhood, which I'm still in touch. Some of them, like we had a group. We call it PIB group, and I have 2, 3 friends from kindergarten still in
Wow.
that group.
You've
We
kept
talk.
up with.
We are in the chat group. One guy is in the UK, London. One is in two are in Toronto,
Wow.
and then we have an ND group. Another friend, he's in Canada. We knew each other at the age of like 8 or 9.
Mhm.
But what I noticed, you need friends. Otherwise, that's helped me also when I was like in New York, when I was like laid off, jobless. I could talk to my friends because that's the problem with a lot of people having depression and this and that. They don't have much social life.
Yeah. I was telling my dad,
Mm.
we go to the masjid to pray Isha,
Yeah.
and sometimes the people that come,
Mm.
they get upset and they start arguing. They
Yeah.
get loud about something going on in the masjid.
Mm.
And I remember telling to my dad,
Yeah.
that's a good example of just unfinished business. They
Yeah.
have all this frustration, maybe because
Yeah.
of social life.
Right.
The way they get it out is just being upset somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember I never had any issue with my friends. Like always. And like when we were kids, we were playing cricket. So people were always fighting. Like there was another guy who was. We had to make somebody a captain. That who wants to go play first, who want to ball. So finally they made me for a while a captain
Hmm.
because I was trying to balance the, okay, like this match you go first, next match you go third,
Hmm.
this match you ball. So it's tough. Even you have to. But what I noticed is that, like, some people are very quiet, and quiet is good. Sometimes too much talking is bad also. Some people cannot stop, which is not good either. They just continue to talk.
And you think your dad was good at that, being
No,
quiet?
no, no, dad didn't talk hardly.
Mm. What do you think you inherited from your father, personality wise?
Uh, I, I, I think honesty, because the second I learned from him is, I think, humbleness. Like, tell you the truth, I never felt proud, no matter if I'm rich or poor, or if I'm, when I was in Saudi Arabia, like we used to go to these offices, and each office has a tea boy. And these tea boys were like, from Pakistan, India, and nobody would talk to them, this. And I used to talk to them, and they were so happy, because the Saudis will not, because this is below their dignity to talk to these kind of people. So those, and plus another thing I think is education. He told me that you can. He said the only way you can beat the system, he told me, is through education, and not just basic. You go and do just a degree. He said try to be a degree which you can. There's a big demand for it, and uh, there is a path forward. And then another reason I came to America also. So what happened in Pakistan? There is, I noticed in the government offices had a lot of corruption, because the salaries was not much. Yeah. So anyway, so I said, if I'm stuck here, I'll be probably motivated. I'm not that strong, will like my father, because I cannot live like, humble life like that. So if I go to America, at least I can buy a car, I can have this, I can have that. And that's also motivated me. And I like to travel also, by the way. I love to travel.
What's your
That's
favorite place you've been to?
favorite place. Oh man, I think I don't know. Like,
Houston, Texas.
no, no. Beside no, no, Texas, Makkah, Medina. No, I would say I've enjoyed Europe. I've been
Where in Europe?
I've been uh, France, UK, Scotland, uh,
Paris is great.
Paris, yes, Germany,
Mm.
and then I've been to like Far East. Far East, I don't care much. I went to Thailand, Malaysia. I like Pakistan also, because it regenerate my, like from Saudi Arabia, I was going every year, sometimes twice a year. I just go to my old neighborhoods. I just revive my memories. I like the sound of hawkers selling
Yeah.
the cart, mangoes.
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
do you feel like you're a Pakistani, an American, or a Saudi? Which culture you think connects to you the most? Because
No,
you've been so connected with all of them.
not Saudis, because
Hmm.
Saudi Arabia, no. I would say when it comes to when I'm home, I'm more like Pakistani, right? Or, but when I'm working, I, I'm more like an American, because I like their work ethics.
You told me your English is better than your Urdu. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I cannot. No, I can speak Urdu very well, but my writing skills in Urdu are not that good. I can write better in English than Urdu, because what happened when I was growing up in Pakistan, you have two kind of schools. One was Urdu medium, one is English medium. So my parents put me in the English medium. So I started right from KG, like in America, KG1, KG2,
Mm.
first grade, second grade. So I was reading a, so that's why my English, especially my writing skills, is more than Urdu skills.
I wanted to go back to the thing about your family. You were telling me about the history of your family before,
Yeah.
like Moguls, Afghans, all
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay. Now my father told me that, see what happened in India, the first Muslim ruler was, his name was Shahabuddin Ghori. He came from a place which is still exists called Ghor in Afghanistan. So he came and he established the first Muslim empire in Delhi. So of course, a lot of soldiers came from Afghanistan, from Ghor, and they were called Ghoris. So they stayed in India. Then then I mean he died, of course. Then his other dynasty came in. Then so those Ghors, they spread out. Some of them stayed Delhi, some moved around. So my father said his lineage goes to those Ghoris. Now, from my mother's side, there was another king before the Mughals. They were called Lodhis. In fact, the city in India is called Ludhiana, which is named after them. So Lodhis came from Afghanistan also, and they captured India. And they ruled India for I don't know how long. And then the Mughals came and they defeated Lodhis and they established the Mughal Empire. So then those Lodhis, so my mother is from the Lodhi side. So basically, they originally they were both came from Afghanistan, maybe 800 years ago or 500 years ago, or
And
1000
you
years.
you also mentioned Rajputs as well.
Yeah, what happened when the my mother told me, and not about from my father that much, that her father told them that four brothers, young recruits, they moved, they were hired by Lodhis to come, join the army. So four of them came. Why? In those days they used to travel by road. You go through Khyber Pass, through Peshawar area, through Punjab, then into Delhi. So two brothers decided to stay in Punjab, and they stayed. So I don't know what happened to them. Two brothers moved on, and then somebody said there is in Nagpur area they needed some soldiers there, well-paid jobs. So and you'll get land also for cultivation. So they came to Nagpur and they settled. Now, of course, they were bachelors, and there was no system that you can go back to Afghanistan and bring a bride. So the and I think there was some other uh, Lodhis. They came before them also in that area. That's why they went there. So in those days, the Rajputs are the Hindus who are mostly they call them Rajput, the son of Rajas, son of rulers. So those Rajput married their daughters to Mughals also, and they didn't want to marry their daughters to the lower caste Hindus. So somehow they married these Rajput ladies who converted to Islam, you know, because they consider them, these Lodhis, the Mughals, as the ruling class. So they were happy to join them, and that probably helped their careers and their land or whatever. So from there, they just have children and more and more and more. This is
And and,
what,
and that's
yeah,
all you know about
that's all.
your
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, nobody wrote a book on it, otherwise they could have a directory.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that's all you've been told, nothing more.
No, from the, yeah, family tree, yes.
Interesting. My
I mean,
dad also told me someone in your mom's family, I think maybe her dad or grandfather,
mm,
he killed a giant snake.
yeah, no, snake killing was not was common because Nagpur area was very well known for cobras.
Yeah. Well, a giant one, Azdaha.
Okay, but I know that my grandfather used to hunt loins. Nagpur area was famous for loin.
Yeah, I remember your mother telling me about this. Yes.
In fact, when I as a kid, I went to their house in Nagpur. I saw in his living room, those stuffed uh, loin head and
Wow.
loin as a decoration.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's fascinating to me. Um, that
yeah.
you know all these things, you know?
Even from your father's side, I didn't know much, but I met your grandfather, and he told me that they came from a place in India called Rajasthan. Your dadas, you're not your dada's father.
Uh-huh.
So they came from Rajasthan. So what happened? Rajasthan was ruled by Hindu rajas, but they did not trust their own army. It's like like sometimes you uh, don't trust your own army and you bring mercenaries outside. So they brought these Afghans as their guards. So that's how your family from your father's side came to India as security army battalion, and they were called the Pathans. And they because I met another guy, a friend of mine who was from same area. He said he remembered his father was telling me that they were Pathans were living in their own colony in Jaipur, and then there was Sayyid who were living in their own colony, and there were other people. And finally, like they just that's why if you look, your I have seen your grandfather, not your grandfather, your grandfather father. He looks like a Nagwan, big tall guy, and so that's all I know from your father's side.
What is your favorite memory with my grandfather? I'm curious.
No, grandfather, like favorite. He was a very funny man. So he used to do, like I noticed, like right now, people are when I go to this physical therapy, I exercises. We like in our masjid, they teach you this therapy for your what they call it to control your sinuses. Like you inhale and you exhale. Lungs for lungs. So your grandfather, when your mother was married, I was visiting Thatta. He taught me that. He said, hold inhale your some air in your lungs, hold it for like 10 seconds, then exhale it for slowly, and he did it himself. So I remember that. That's one thing. And then he would tell me some other stories, like of India and this and that. And he was also in Kawali. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm talking about his great grandfather. Yeah,
Um,
and of course I met your great dada. What do you call your grandfather, big brother, Badiuzzzaman Khan. I had some interaction with him. A very handsome man. Uh, he used to when he got I used to see him occasionally. He was a very dashing person, and then he has then he joined Red Cross, Pakistan Red Cross, and always working with them. And then I remember your father, elder sister, not young, not elder, younger, another sister who was in Kuwait. So I remember her and her husband. They used to come every 2, 3 years from Kuwait. Very
You
nice.
you mentioned the story of how you met my grandfather, but I don't remember it. What
No,
was
no, no, no,
the first time you met him?
no, not your grand. Yeah, okay. What happened? Uh, we were living in, as you said, PIB colony, and in order to supplement the income, we have like we extended our house on a veranda outside and made 3 rooms, two on each side, one on each side, and in the center we kept it. So the rooms on the left and right, we start. My parents start renting them. So mostly students, they used to come from interior Sindh, to go to college or start jobs in Karachi. So people used to come for 2, 3 years and leave, and somebody else. And that's that time they used to charge them 25 rupees a month, which in today's dollar is like, let's say, $25 a month. So they would have a small stove they can cook, and for the bathroom we built a bathroom behind us, so they have to walk the whole the street and go back in the backside and take a shower and all that. So we had one of the tenant was a teacher, and then he's told my father that now he has to leave, he's getting married, so but he will let us know. So he said okay. So one day I was standing, I think it was the spring break or whatever, I was off, and suddenly I saw this donkey cart coming in with a lot of luggage on it, and somebody walking behind it. So he said, he said, is this 321 PI? Our house address was 321. I said, yes. Sabir Khan's house? I said, yes. He said, by the way, my name is Sayyiduzama, and I'm a friend of this teacher. And, he is leaving and he gave me the key. So I want to move here. I said, well, he never told us, but let me ask my mother. So I went there. So my mother came out a little bit, looked outside. She said, she asked him, who are you? Where you came from? He said, no, I'm from Sindh, Thatta, and I'm going to this, college. And so I need a room. And I will give you rent. Don't worry, this and that. Finally, we said, okay. So he became a tenant. And then finally, after 2, 3 years, he got married. So this is how we are
Interesting.
married.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you met him.
He was a
Yeah.
very handsome man, like, in fact, there's a movie star, late movie star of India called Raj Kapoor. I mean, his daughter is still, his granddaughter, Kareena Kapoor.
Mhm.
She's a big movie star in India. So your grandfather resembled that actor,
Mm.
because that actor
Interesting.
was Pathan. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's fascinating.
it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, but after few months, your grandfather he brought a jeep. So what happened is, I think his brother gave him a jeep. It was a Willys jeep, and then at that time, what happened? There used to be bus service between Karachi and Thatta, where they came from. But for some reason, the road was being rebuilt, so the bus service was stopped. So now the only way people can go is through these the private cars and this and that. So he hired a driver and he put that jeep. So the driver will go to this place and load people and go to Thatta and come back. I used to go sometimes with him too.
Mm.
So, but Thatta was it's like maybe 100 miles from Karachi.
If
Very
I'm,
historic.
I think my dad was telling me something about a Mughal emperor being born over there.
Not there. Mughal emperor was born in Amarkot, which is like maybe 100 miles from Tata.
Yeah, he
The,
was saying something about that.
no,
Yes, you're right. Yes, Akbar, Omer Court. Yeah,
Akbar the Great, yeah.
interesting.
But Tata has a graveyard, and these graves goes back to like almost like 800 years back, right? So what happened? They said during the peak of the before the Mughals even, there were other Muslim families. Tata has a big university
Mhm.
where they used to teach fiqh and deen and this and that. So a lot of these ulemas used to live there. There is a mosque there built by King Shah Jahan, the same guy who built Taj Mahal.
Hmm.
That mosque is still there in Thatta.
Interesting. I didn't
Very
know that.
very historical place, and it's being there for like thousands of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
So,
is your favorite memory with your brother?
oh Nasir,
Yeah.
I mean Nasir. Basically, I came then. He came also, and then we stayed together for years. In the same apartment, but we didn't see much because he was always working because he was going to college and he was always working as a security guard every weekend and night time. So we used to see each other maybe in a week, maybe few hours. That's it. And then
Wow.
and then I was working. Then finally I got married. So I moved to New Jersey. He stayed in New York. Then he got married. But even as kids, we had different. He was more like quite not like me, and he has different friends. I have different friends, and he has different, like playing habits. I had different habits, so we were like that.
Yeah, I remember speaking with him as well. He came a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Sat with him in my backyard. It's a good
Oh,
time talking to him.
right.
Yeah.
There's a funny story about him also. That once he came as a tourist. So even that time, they gave him like a 1 week visa or 2 week visa. They said because he only had one way ticket. And why you came with one way ticket? So I was worried, what I'm going to do. But at the same time, as I told you, I used to work in Wall Street law firm. So I knew all these lawyers in a way. So they were there, but those lawyers were very expensive. So I knew this young lawyer. He was an immigration lawyer. He said, "Hey, you cannot afford me. We only do like big time clients." But he said, let me, as a favor, I'll write you 10 Q&A. And out of this, whoever will ask you the same question. So he wrote me, they will ask you why he came, this and that. And you just answer like that. So believe me, out of 10, 9 exactly same question
Wow.
went to him with his images. Finally, they gave him visa.
Wow.
So funny thing, during the Clinton administration, I was watching the news, and then they said, Director of Naturalization and Immigration uh, was speaking. And I looked at the TV and I said, hey, the same guy, Mr. Zimmerman. Yeah, well, I think that was him. He became the director. That was funny.
It's interesting.
It is.
Of all the presidents that you've experienced, what presidency do you think was the most prosperous?
I think prosperous was Clinton, but the president I liked most was Nixon.
Really? You surprised me.
Although he was caught, Watergate, but whatever. But he was not corrupt. Let's say, like he came from a very poor family, and once he was indicted, his sister-in-law said, we look, I'm just a school teacher, and my husband is this, so he never benefited from, like being whatever.
That's an interesting response. I didn't expect to hear that. Nixon. Hmm.
And but no, but I like his foreign policy. He's the one who opened the China.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. He's the one who went to China, opened the door,
Yeah.
and he's the one who was he signed this treaty with the Soviet Union that time.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right.
But
What?
I met a lot of the one thing because I used to work with the when I was in Saudi Arabia, I was working with very close with the U.S. Army personnel because we were doing like joint construction. So my portion was just construction, but we had other. My boss used to be like a two-star general, and we used to sit in meetings, and they were like they were dealing like aviation training, naval, this that. So all these colonels. So we always had briefings. So this is what I learned from the U.S. Army that we had to present, like they have slides and we have to speak, like my portion, let's say when I have to speak about my construction projects, the aviation guy will say, by the way, we are buying 10 Tomahawk, 10 F-35, and he will go and we're buying this kind of boats for Saudis, and we are training and we are buying this kind of equipment for Saudi hospitals. So they were like, so we had one guy who was, I think, contracting, who was civilian. There were some issues, and he started going back to the, you know, uh, why this happened. This. So finally, the general stopped him. He said, "Listen, we have 10 minutes. I need 1 minute for the history, 1 minute for the issue, and I need 8 minutes. How are you going to resolve it?
Hmm.
I don't know. Whatever happened, happened, but we need to resolve this. We cannot sit all day and say, sir, this happened because of this. I know it happened already. We need to find a solution." So that was the style I learned, very, very efficient.
Quick
Before,
results.
before I used to sit like in like typical civilian meetings, drag on. People were talking in some 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and going like, look like, we are just chatting. He said, we don't have time to chat. We have limited time.
I like that. That's a good lesson.
No, really, I learned from them, very quick. And we have to write. And so I had to learn myself that I only have 10 minutes. I cannot, and you cannot BS too long for them, with them, because they know that. And
Yeah.
if you give them hard dates, then you better keep it.
Yeah. Like you were on time. I
Yeah.
noticed that.
And if you say, sir, this building will be completed in January 15th, it better be, unless you have a good excuse. So we were
Yeah.
always trying to be a little bit flexible. If I know January 15th, I will tell him January 30th.
Give
To
them
keep,
more time than you need. Yeah. Yeah.
but
That's a good one.
be very organized, very to the point. And the good thing about that, if they are wrong, they will say yes.
Mhm.
They will not. So, so I
Yes. Yeah.
not from American. They're disciplined. Let's say.
Yesterday was Ashura,
Yeah.
and you were telling me when you came that you
Mm,
think that the Shias, when they do their procession through the streets,
mm.
you think it's been influenced by a Hindu festival. What was that festival again?
No, no, no. Not when they're doing they're beating the chest. Not that one.
Yeah.
There's another Ashura before the day before Ashura, or maybe the Ashura day. They take what they do. They build these. Have you seen like in America they do floats like a parade or like a rose ball parade where they decorate things. So what happened? They make these like a house or some kind of structures with a lot of fancy paper, cardboard, and and they take all this in a procession and then go to the sea, and then they uh, put them in the sea, let them drown. So they think that what happened, each thing they built is more like a decorative piece. They what happened? They said, well, if I get this next year, let's see, if I have a job, I'll make this. If I have a baby, I'll do this. If I get married, I'll do this. If I make more money, I'll do this. So the Hindus, they have this god with the face of an elephant. They do the same thing, and they call the Sera. They take a procession.
The Sarah of
But
Ganesh.
yeah, Ganesh, and they take it to the ocean or river, and they let him drown. So
Hmm.
that festival came from, but it's only in Pakistan, India.
Hmm.
Like the Iranis, Shia, the Lebanese Shia don't do it,
Interesting.
but
Do,
they all do this. They beat the chest.
do you remember the first time you saw the Motham as a kid in
Yeah, yeah.
Pakistan?
Oh yeah. When I think I 6, 7 year old, I saw it because we had Shia in our neighborhood.
Bloody streets?
Yeah. Then when I grew up in Karachi on the day of Ashura, there's a big like a festival. You go there and you see people lined up, vendors were there selling fruits, this, that, and these groups like a Macy's Day Parade. Different groups coming in with some with chains, some with hands, some this, and they will march like 100 yards. Then they'll stop and they will all start beating their chest and saying Hussein, Hussein. Then they will move on to the next spot.
Yeah.
So I
Do
have seen,
you do you think any of your relatives were ever Shias?
not directly my relative, but I distant. I think even from your side, from your father's side, I remember one of his cousins. She married a Shia because when my sister was married, and I have been to their house, so they already have. I think they have 3, 4 kids. One or two became Shia, two remain Sunni.
Hmm.
But from my side, I think I have not seen anybody getting into Shia marriage yet.
Yeah. Do you think you have any British blood in you? You
No,
mentioned one of your ancestors, blue-eyed.
no, no, no. They're not British, but these Turkish came to India also. These
Yeah,
Afghans. If you look at Afghans, a lot of them have blue eyes and brown hairs.
that's true as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because they are from the north, so not British blood, but all Turkish. Yeah,
Yeah. That's believable. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Some Iranians have very fair skin.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because what I heard from my mother that her dadi, which is her grandmother, was very white,
Hmm.
almost like a British.
Wow.
But those things. Unfortunately, a lot of people did not keep track. Like funny thing. Sometimes you ask people. I wonder. I met a guy in a masjid. I said, they had no clue. They even about. These guys are in the 60s, 60s, 70s. Who their grandfather was. They could not even name them.
Yeah. So quickly people forget, huh?
Yeah, people forget. And I think in order to do that, you have to either keep some kind of record, pass it on, and at least make a dua for them. Even if you don't know the names, you can always say, my grandparents and their grandparents.
Yeah.
Uh,
What do you hope for the future of your family in America?
I don't want to think about it. It's very challenging, like it's a tough.
Yeah, because
Uh,
going back, you brought a lot of us out here. You brought us out here.
I know that, but
Yeah.
uh, good and bad. Good in a way that. in Pakistan, we were not from a very rich families. So the danger was if you were if we would have stayed behind, most of us would have become like maybe middle class, maybe lower middle class, struggling. And I've seen it, like uh, living in like not able even to help themselves, forget about helping others. So that's a good thing. The challenges are, I think, is more like that lack of religion coming up in America, the Europe, not from us, but in general. And but when it comes to going astray, even in Pakistan, India, like I have seen stories like in Karachi and all that. People are not following religion. They are drinking. They are taking drugs. So it's not like so. The only thing I hope, the good thing about it, we have so many Islamic centers now all over
Yeah,
that that at least, and I think it's right from your childhood. You have to uh, train them, not train them. I would say motivate them
yeah,
that they would learn. Don't wait until they are like teenagers, and then you say, hey, by the way, let's start the prayer tomorrow.
yeah. Again, I think it's cool that you kept to your religious identity out here when
Yeah,
there was an opportunity not to, you know?
yeah. For example, some of my friends, like for example, I'll tell you what happened when I was working in Virginia. Then I got a job in rural Virginia, which is a place called Roanoke. So there was a guy from Pakistan also. He was also engineer. He was from Peshawar, and then he married this girl who was already divorced, have a 1 year old child, and just for no reason he married her, and I don't know what happened to him. And so there are people like that who really just get lost, in the system, and unfortunately, uh, sometimes they wake up and it's too late.
Yeah,
So uh, it depends on your what kind of friends you have, where you hang around.
yeah,
So most of my friends, like I mean, they were not that religious, but they were not, let's say, not westernized because they were very easy to marry, you know, here, to any white girl or Spanish girl or whatever. And you have to control yourself because unless you find really a pious Muslim, there were cases I've seen it. I know one case that this big businessman, I knew him. He married a Swedish lady who was became totally Muslim. He has two kids. Now his kids are also in their 50s something. They were raised Muslims, and so there are exceptions.
wow. I just realized you were in America in the 70s. Do you remember when the Shah of Iran, when he was overthrown and
Yeah,
the effect it had in the US?
yeah. We were at that time, 79. We were walking. I remember I used to live in a building that was full of Iranians. So they were all anti Shah at that time. And then in Manhattan, when you walk around, you see a lot of posters on the wall. They would go and put in the nighttime, like praise the Khomeini and against the Shah. And these were like liberal Iranis, not religious Iranis, because they were
Wow.
hoping that Shah will be out and then we will have a democratic Iran. And they just thought Khomeini will do that, but he didn't do that.
Yeah. And now the Iranian liberals have flipped, huh? Pro Shah.
Yeah, yeah, because they are not religious. Unfortunately, a lot of the Iranians, They're just not religious
Yeah.
here in
But
America.
I was wondering about your what that experience was like for you in the 70s because I remember learning in school
Hmm.
it was Ford, I believe, or not Ford, Jimmy Carter who was
Yeah.
president, and he would tell because of the gas, people wouldn't have heat, and so he told them put on your jackets in the cold, and the Americans didn't like that. I wonder if that was any of your experience.
No, I don't recall that.
Uh,
The only thing, Jimmy Carter, the interest rate went to 16%.
mm,
So like mortgage rates were like 16%. So that was one problem. That's one of the reason he lost the election.
wow.
And the second thing, he failed in Iran. He tried to, land a plane, and that the
Yeah.
issue. But again, like when you have, I mean, Shah of Iran, of course, he was the dictator also. So he, there's always a backlash.
Yeah.
But I have seen Shah of Iran myself and his wife.
Really?
When I was a kid. So what happened in those days? Any leader that would come to Pakistan, in those days there was no security issues, right? So from the airport, they will come in an open aircade, motorcade, means like in a jeep, a car with no rooftop, on it, and they will come through airport all the way to the, let's say, to the midtown, to
Mhm.
the President Palace, and all those streets, they will bring all the school kids to wave. So I have seen Chu Enlai, the former Chinese prime minister. I've seen Shah of Iran, his wife. I've seen Jacqueline Kennedy,
Wow.
and I'm just trying to think who else. So all those, yeah,
Interesting. Well, it's been good talking to you.
yeah. Thanks very
Uh,
much.
Thanks for being here, Adil Mamoo. And I was wondering, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say, you didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind you wanted to express?
Couple of things, very short advice to young people, even the old people. First of all, we have to realize that if there is Muslims, we have to you know do the whatever Allah instructed us to do, like prayers and salat and this. But beside that, we have to take care of our health also. So, uh, food is important. Uh, Try to follow the sunnah, which I try to follow myself. Don't eat full meal. Usually, when I'm eating, except if I go to like a buffet or somebody's wedding, I may eat more because, but at home, I usually stop that one. And then exercise, very important, no matter what age. You have to walk, run, or not just sit and do all kind of exercise. As I was showing at your home,
I remember, yeah.
okay, my wife does it, and we need that because some people after such age, and then of course don't smoke, don't drink. uh,
Yeah.
uh, and then also try to be nice to people. Bottom line is, and don't be one thing which I don't like, being sarcastic. Some people are just for no reason.
Yeah.
There are other ways to complain in a nice way, and there are ways to complain in a harsh way. So stick to that. Uh, what else I can say? And work hard, and try to finish the chores as much as you can.
Yeah.
That's
That's good
my
advice.
yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. I appreciate that.
Okay,
And thank you for your time.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Until next time, inshallah.
okay. Take care. Bye bye.